This video is going to be somewhat of a vlog, something that I've never done before, but there's some things that I would like to talk about, and I don't really know of any other way to get to them in a video. So the first topic I would like to talk about is The Witcher 3, the big downgrade. When I posted my video of my short ride in The Witcher 3, I'm sure you may have seen that video. If not, here is a link to it. There were a lot of comments posted about the graphical downgrade, about how what was shown of The Witcher almost 2 years ago is a lot different than what we got in the final product. That the character models have been downgraded, the environment, the particle effects on the spells, just about everything in The Witcher 3 has been downgraded. But here's my point of view on that. When you see materials for a game that is almost 2 years out at E3 or whatever event you may be watching them at, and you pre-order the game based on those materials, what you're buying is basically a promise. You're buying a promise that a game is going to be delivered, and you know, sometimes people don't always keep their promises. Sometimes they can't keep their promises. In the case of CD Projekt Red, I think that they honestly couldn't keep that promise. From what I have heard, there were a lot of problems with the original build of the game, a lot of stuttering on PC, and quite possibly that they couldn't port it to consoles. And as they have said before, The Witcher 3 would not have happened if it weren't for consoles. They wouldn't have made the game in the first place if they couldn't put it on consoles, because they were afraid a game of that scale couldn't sell well enough on PC to turn a profit for them or even break even. So the way I see it, the downgrade in The Witcher 3 is there, it is visible, and it is disappointing. And I can understand somebody who pre-ordered The Witcher 3 based on the footage they saw all that time ago would be disappointed, and that is understandable and that is fair. But if you pre-ordered The Witcher 3, if you pre-order any game, you're not buying the finished game, you're buying a promise, you're buying an idea. You're buying the idea of the game that has not yet come to fruition. And that is the same for The Witcher 3, for, in my case, Kerbal Space Program, a game that I participated in the early access version of, which didn't really shake out the way it was promised, but when you pre-order, when you buy early access, you're buying a promise and you're buying an idea. And I hope that my thoughts have come across clearly and that you understand what I'm trying to say here. It's not CD Projekt Red's fault, it's not your fault, it's not even Microsoft or Sony's fault. It's just that sometimes things don't always shake out, and that's unfortunate and disappointing. But if you don't want this to happen, don't pre-order games. I certainly don't. The other thing I would like to talk about is this supposed pedophilia scare with Splatoon. If you haven't heard, there are some corners of the internet which are outraged that the primary audience for Splatoon appears to be 30-something-year-old men playing a game where you play as essentially lolicon squids. It is a little strange. It's sort of reminiscent of what happened a couple years ago with My Little Pony. But you have to understand that people aren't being drawn to these games, Splatoon, Senran and Kagura, Sorcery Saga, the Atelier series. They're not being drawn to them, the Neptunia series especially. They're not necessarily being drawn to them because of the protagonists who happen to be little girls, which is the current trend in Japan. A lot of these games have very solid gameplay and are very good, and while the protagonists being small girls may attract some unsavory types, it's not really something to be outraged about that people who like video games would buy video games with sound design. Plus, this may make me sound like the devil's advocate, but it's not like these 30-plus-year-old men are going out and molesting little girls. If they are getting some sort of jolly out of this game, at least it is in a virtual environment with characters that never existed and that aren't even human, really. They're anthropomorphic squids. So that's my 2 cents. That kind of might make me sound like a molester's advocate, but trust me, I am not. I just think that it is a little bit of sensationalism, gone a little too far with Splatoon. One more thing to talk about, the rumor going around that Silent Hills is being resurrected on the Xbox One. Completely unfounded rumors, if you ask me. I don't own an Xbox One, and maybe that makes me a little less enthusiastic that these rumors are going around. I have a PlayStation 4. I played PT. You can see my playthrough right here. Here's a link. If it were to happen, though, Silent Hill is one of my favorite series that has ever existed, and I would be enthusiastic about it. I am not sure I would buy an Xbox One just for Silent Hills, but I may in the future when there's a price drop. If Silent Hills were to come out on the Xbox One, it would be a strong factor in considering buying one. However, at the time, I believe it is Phil Spencer went on Twitter and completely dashed the rumors. I don't know where they came from, but one thing I found concerning was all of the console fanboyism. It seemed like people who play on PlayStation primarily were outraged about this, and people who primarily play on Xbox were overjoyed. And the way I see it, more video games is always better than less video games. So if the only way for Silent Hills to ever come out would be to come out on the Xbox One, then I would be fine with that. Those are just my 2 cents. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and if you'd like to see more like this, please say so down in the comments. Thanks for watching.